Hi everyone, I'm Derek Shakey with the Collector Car Network. Thank you for tuning in. If you've seen some of our videos on this channel before, you'll probably know that they focus on new car reviews. So manufacturers send us a new vehicle to test out for a few days, and then we tell you what it was like here on this channel. But today we're doing something very different, something we haven't really done before. We're not only going to be getting into Restomod vehicles, but we're actually going to be taking them out on the road. It'll be in two separate videos. So before we get into that and the nitty-gritty of this vehicle behind me, I do want to thank Velocity Restorations, which gave us access to both of these vehicles that they created. I also want to thank Wright Toyota, one of their dealers right here in Scottsdale, Arizona. So in a separate video, I covered this 72 Chevy K5 Blazer, but in this one, we're going to get into some of the details on this 66 Ford Bronco, which, as you may or may not be able to tell, has what's called a blackout package. All right, here it is, the 1966 Ford Bronco from Velocity Restorations. Now, for those of you out there who aren't familiar with the basic Bronco history, 1966 was the very first model year for the very first generation of the Bronco, and that ended up starting a long lineage of Ford off-road vehicles. So who knows, maybe we wouldn't even have a Raptor today if it wasn't for the original Bronco. Now, in the Blazer video, I had said that that particular Blazer was connected to the Corvette in a couple of ways. I would say that this Bronco is connected to the Mustang in a couple of ways. So I'll get into those as we go through the review. Now, one of those is in terms of the coloring. You could say that this Bronco is a dark horse. So this gray is pretty subdued, you know, it's not a flashy color. It is actually Nardo gray, so all of you Audi fans out there probably recognize that name. That is an Audi shade of gray. And with that is a bunch of black trim. This has the Velocity Restorations Blackout Package. So as you can see, there's no chrome anywhere. You know, all the bright work has been darkened. So, you know, around the windows, around the LED headlights, the front and rear bumpers, the grille lettering, the fender badges, that's all black. And of course, the wheels are black as well. They are part of the package when it comes to the blackout trim. So these are 17-inch Method race wheels, and these are wrapped in BF Goodrich all-terrain tires. So like any Bronco should, this has some off-road ability, especially in terms of the tires. And then the transfer case is very interesting. I'll get into that later on. But what's interesting about this Bronco is instead of going with a new piece, what Velocity Restorations did was take the original frame, strip it, clean it, straighten it, then powder coat it and reinstall it. So despite all of the new hardware on this vehicle, this is very much connected in such a fundamental way to what this was originally. So I thought that was an interesting choice. Now, of course, everything attached to and around that is modern and updated. So it has a 2.5-inch suspension lift, Bilstein shocks, as well as disc brakes connected to a Hydro Boost braking system. So very modern with a touch of yesteryear to go with it. So what else connects this Bronco to the Mustang? A Coyote, as in the Mustang's engine. This is a Gen 3 5-liter Coyote V8 from Ford Performance. As it sits, it pumps out 460 horsepower. It breathes through a custom-made Velocity Restorations exhaust system, and it puts its power to the road or the trail through a 10R80 10-speed automatic, as well as a dual-range transfer case with an interesting twin stick setup. So I'll show you that when we get to the interior. Right here on the side, you can see more new hardware that Velocity added to this Bronco build. So you've got new glass and seals. You've got this custom roll cage with this bikini top over the first row, as well as these power deploying side steps. So you open the door, makes it a little easier to get up inside this rig. So inside, there's even more blackout package trim. Right here in the middle of this beautiful thin wood rim steering wheel, the center of the steering wheel has been blacked out. Then you've got black knobs, as well as this black bezel for this Dakota Digital multi-gauge. That doesn't include all of the other black trim that's just here anyway. That's not necessarily part of the blackout package. So you got this black dash pad, the black column shifter, steering column, the floor mats, center console, and then yeah, this center console is locking. And you've got a couple of cup holders here as well. And as you can tell, we've got black seating. This is diamond stitched marine grade vinyl. So if you happen to go splashing around in this Bronco, you don't have to worry about messing up these seats. You got the high back buckets in the front, and then you've got a fold and tumble matching rear bench at the back. Another major update to this Velocity Bronco is vintage air AC, which I am especially grateful for because we are in the Phoenix area in the summer and it is over 100 degrees, so this is really coming in handy. Those of you familiar with the original Bronco, keep in mind, obviously it's 1966, so back in the day, 60 years ago, pretty Spartan place to be. That is not the case with this Velocity Restorations version of the 66 Bronco. They add some thoughtful modern updates. So you have a new steering column from I Did It. You've got this Clarion Bluetooth head unit right here, and that's connected to Focal or Focal, however you pronounce it, speakers. And then I had mentioned this before, this has a twin stick transfer case setup. So you can do traditional 4 high, 4 low, have both axles working at the same time, or if you want low range gearing just for the rear wheels, you can do that by using these levers accordingly. It's a very interesting touch. And another interesting update to this that adds a lot of convenience to the cabin are these window cranks. Now they look traditional, like the old school style for manual windows, but they actually control the power window. So you press down on this, lowers the window, you lift it up, it actually raises the power window. So interesting and slightly deceptive touch inside this Velocity Restorations Bronco. All right, as you can tell, we're on the road in the 66 Ford Bronco by Velocity Restorations. And wow, this thing it feels like a little sports car of an SUV, you know? It's got 460 horsepower, small, you know, relatively small dimensions, especially by today's standards. You compare this to a 4-door Bronco, much smaller. It feels nimble, narrow, you know, sporty in a sense, especially with that kind of power. And really getting on it there, I knew there was going to be that roar, there was going to be that acceleration, but wow, it just hit a certain level and it just wanted to run away. Let's let it do that. Yeah, this thing is fun. You know, I haven't had a lot of time driving this one. I've been in the Blazer primarily, but wow, this is a pleasant surprise. This thing has got some get up and go and some grunt. It's the second I started driving it, I felt how, you know, ready to go the throttle pedal was, and it just put a smile on my face. And as you can tell, it hasn't gone away. I mean, this thing is a real hoot. And despite all of the updates, you know, the power steering, the brakes, and all that kind of stuff, I mean, it does have this charming rawness to it, you know? Velocity didn't overly sanitize this or, you know, cook out its old school DNA, you know? It's got a mix of both, you know? It feels rough and tough and kind of elemental, but then you have those modern benefits, especially this power. What a great combination, y'all. Okay, folks, that is the 1966 Ford Bronco from Velocity Restorations. I've been reviewing vehicles for a long time and I have never experienced something quite like this. It was a real privilege. Definitely not going to forget this. So I'd like to say thank you to a lot of people First of all, I'd like to thank you for watching this review. I hope you enjoyed this vehicle as much as I did. I'd also like to thank Velocity Restorations for not only building this, but giving me the chance to spend some time with this inside and out and to drive it and open it up. Very grateful for that. Also thankful to one of Velocity's dealers here, right here in Scottsdale, Wright Toyota. They made this happen as well, so very grateful to them. Once again, thank you for watching, and stay tuned for more interesting vehicles and vehicle reviews.